Here, my name's Roland Pease. I'm a science journalist, and that ship that you can see there in the ice is the Polar Stern. It's a German icebreaker that's down at Antarctica at this moment, and we have a live link. And I think I'd like to go straight over to our two guests there, waiting for our calls. Okay, that's brilliant. I'm going to turn the lights out because it's much more important you see our guests. Two cameras. On the left is Autun Purser. Say hello, Autun.
Hello there, hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Very quickly, you're a marine biologist. You born in Birmingham, is that right?
Yeah, I was born in Birmingham, studied in London, and now I work for the German icebreaker, and I photograph the seafloor. And on this cruise, I also collect animals on the seafloor for colleagues who want to work with animals. For example, Lisa Chakrabarti, who's coming from the University of Nottingham, right?
Yeah.
It's not your first time down at the South Pole, is it? Or near the South Pole, I should say, Lisa.
No, second time. And it's a bit of a surprise that I'm here twice or even the first time. But yeah, it's amazing. And the research on board is fantastic. It's really good.
And you're going to be showing us around, you're going to be our roving camera, as it were. It's going to be amazing.
That's right.
I want to see, who wants to see the ice? Yay! Let's see some ice.
Okay, we're gonna do the very complicated method of holding a webcam up out the window, and then you're gonna see the ice. So this is the Weddell Sea ice. This is some of the thickest sea ice you get in the world. We're going to show you, and luckily we're in the ice. Yesterday we were in the open water. We were thinking, get back to the ice before we do this link, and now we're back. So I'm going to show you now. So.
This is very handmade productions here. There's actually a BBC crew on board, I think, filming for another series of made on ice, or whatever they call it. And that picture that you saw. Oh, wow. There you go.
So this is the Weddell Sea, if you can still hear us.
We
There's
can.
All these cracks here. These cracks were not made by us smashing through. This is sort of like ice that's been pushed around by the gyre, the water flow, the water circulation in this world that smashes it up. And Lisa's going to show you, I think you can maybe see one lonely penguin over there. Can you see him over by the ice? One penguin. We had 8 or 9 emperor penguins out here a minute ago. So we've been here for about 5 hours. We're doing some work on one of our engines. So we've paused the ship here, which is great because it means it's quieter for us to talk to you. And that's great. But we're going to look on the other side because you've got another treat coming, which is just a moment while I shut this hugely heavy door. And we have people going out onto the ice. So you're going to see people in action, I think, I hope. Because we're walking along now sort of the viewing platform, which is behind the bridge on the ship. And
there are penguins there.
There's more penguins here. And more penguins, good. Okay, we're opening the other door.
Okay, these doors are quite hard.
These doors are extremely heavy. Okay, I'm good.
You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Oh,
So,
there's a crane there.
yeah, there's a crane there, and that thing next to the crane, Lisa, if you can see here what we're doing, is the mummy chair. That's where we lower people onto the ice. You can see it's up above, and we're lowering them down onto the ice, and they are doing coring, so they're drilling through the ice, and they're seeing what sort of algae is living in the ice and things like that. It's a fairly new ice here. It's like less than a year old, I think, this particular piece of ice. And Lisa, show the smashed up bit behind the ship. That's where the ice. That's how the ice looks. I don't know if you can see it. It's sort of yellowy. That's where all the algae living on the bottom of the ice. And there's some penguins over there. That's where all the emperor penguins have gone. I think we can't quite see them very good. I think maybe they've run away from the scientists. So they've got these safety harnesses on there, but they've also got flotation suits. So if they fall in the water, you're warm for 25 minutes in the suits they're wearing. So
How, I don't know if you can hear me, how thick is that ice?
That's about 1.20 meters, I think. So when we have show the stick, Lisa. There's a stick on the side of the ship, and as we break the ice, each of those marks is 50 centimeters in length. So when the ice is breaking as we move, we can look down and say, oh, that's thick enough for maybe a shorter person, but a big heavy German can't go standing on that. So that's the sort of thing we do. Oh, Lisa just showed you some of our emergency survival stuff there. There's some of our lifeboat, opening lifeboats just below us there. So we have, on each side of the ship, we have enough lifeboats for maybe 200 people, but we only have 100 on the ship, so there's margin for safety. And because sometimes with this ship, we could pick up people in trouble. Maybe in the COVID times, we collected people from various bases that couldn't get picked up by planes. So sometimes we put more than the 100 people on here that we normally have.
Looks very spacious.
Very spacious. 115 meters long and 30 meters wide. So it's a very wide ship. Would you like to see an officer? Is it okay if we say hello?
Yes.
Of course. Hi, everybody.
This is our communications officer, whose important job it is to keep the internet running and to keep us communications and everything like that, right? Is that?
Yes. Well, everybody wants internet.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. Our fast internet.
He's still got all the old stuff, right? All of the old VHF and radio equipment. We have all the old stuff still.
Yeah, but that's more still more for a hobby. I mean, today everything is automated, even the distress calls. And that's I also happen to be a radio amateur, and so yeah, we do still use all shortwave, even Morse telegraphic.
Oh, Morse code thing. Oh,
Hey.
cool. You're not saying anything rude with that Morse code, no?
There's nothing like that, but yeah, that's more or less a hobby. It's also an emergency procedure, but we are way better off with satellite communications. It's more reliable. I'm really happy I'm not depending on the good old shortwave. It's a little bit of nostalgia, but that's all it is about. So this is also a post office. So you can still, if you have the post box outside, they probably show you later.
We can do.
So you can buy stamps here. You can
By stamps.
It's an official post office, right? It's an official.
post box to get an official stamp. So, and this is then mailed. I mean, if you post mail, you have to wait until we get to a harbor where I can send it back to the official postal service. So yeah, if you started writing a postcard at the beginning of this journey, which was back in December, it will probably not arrive until the end of March. But hey, you got a letter from Antarctica.
Yeah, it's a good souvenir. It's a good souvenir.
Do you have one of those stamps you can say, this is South Pole?
Yeah, so like you say, it's from South Pole. It's good, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
And you also have a credit card terminal, so you can even get money here.
Yeah,
for the shop.
yeah. He's the bank, he's the internet. He really is the most important person on the ship, I think so.
No, not really. You really want me to be a navigator? I really would mess that up.
It's all white. Everything looks the same outside.
Exactly.
Talking of stamps, let's put those stamps over here behind you, Lisa. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Andreas.
So every cruise that we go on, we make a special stamp, and we are on this one here, witnessing the climate crisis. So we make this stamp, and then we can stamp everything official gets a stamp, and then we can stamp these things. Yeah, this is a nice souvenir as well.
While you quickly pause breath, Autun, I've got an audience which ranges from, I think, about 6 years old. Are you 6? 5? 7. 7 years old up to well into their 70s or something. Has anyone, I mean, I've got loads of questions, but you can ask anything of someone who's down in the frozen south. Put your hands up. Oh, it would be someone at the back. I'm also getting my exercise here, Autun. Oh, just tell me, who are you?
I'm Edward.
You're Edward, okay. Go on, ask your question.
How many penguins have you seen?
Well, that's really a good question. So here just now, we're seeing groups of about 10 emperor penguins together, and we've seen 2 of those groups. But just before we stopped, about 5 hours ago, we went past about 50 Adelie penguins, and they tend to be more of them together, like maybe 50 or 60 in a little group. But the emperors, when we were delivering the food to the polar base, which we did before we came out here, we just had 2 young ones next to the ship,
Yeah,
right?
but I tell you what's really cool. If you've got a top bunk in your cabin, then sometimes you can just look out of the window while you're lying in bed and see groups of Adelie penguins just drifting by on the ice floes. And they might be like 20 or 30 Adelies, all chattering away as they go past. So yeah, lots and lots of penguins, when we're in the ice at least. And we've seen some seals as well today.
Yeah. The Adelies really are different. They really do chatter. The emperor penguin, he doesn't look very impressed by the ship. They sort of go, and then that's it. But the emperors, they're like, the Adelies.
Shall I go on a tour?
Yeah. Would you like to go on a tour? Here's a drone. Look at this. We're really in the 21st century now. We have several of these drones on board, which we're using to film the penguins right now. Yeah.
So, Lisa, while you go out, find us another good view, I've got another question here for Autun from Emily.
What food do you eat?
That's a great question. What food do we eat? So it's a German ship, so we're eating a lot of potatoes, and the meat eaters are eating a lot of meat. But it's 21st century now, so almost half of the people are vegetarian, and they make different things for us. Like, it depends a little bit on the cook. You always have different cooks. So you get a lot of pasta, a lot of potatoes, and a lot of canned vegetables and things now, like a lot of canned beans at the moment. And I guess you don't like sprouts, probably. We have sprouts today in the potato soup, so things that preserve and last a long time.
Emily says she loves sprouts.
Oh yeah, she loves sprouts. Oh, that's good. And then apples on this cruise. Sometimes they prefer grapefruits, and you have many grapefruits. So it's good. It's always different. And we sailed out of where did we go from? South Africa. So sometimes it's related to where you are, what food you get.
So you just pick everything up on that last stop and then hope it lasts.
Yeah, exactly. We had one mistake where they went to order one container of flour, but they ordered one carton of flour. So we had to send the crew out with shopping baskets to get all of the flour from all of the local supermarkets. So that was Lisa's in the restaurant. That's where Lisa is. Lisa's in the canteen now. So if you see Lisa's camera, you can see that she's.
We can see.
Yeah, so 3:30 is ice cream and cake time. So 3:30 is cake time. So we've just had these cakes made for us. So every day it's a different cake, and that's where we have our meals. We sit there in groups of 6, and so you have 1 hour for your meal times, and you're supposed to like come in sort of bits and bobs, and then try and finish in 15 minutes.
Lisa, go back. Lisa, go back to the coffee machine. I like to see the luxury you have there.
The coffee machine. So the coffee machine, we've only had this for a couple of cruises, and the first cruise they sent no spare parts. This was a mistake, because when this coffee machine died, the mood died. So now it comes, I think, enough spare parts to rebuild it 3 times. So yeah, that was that room. And now Lisa's taking you along the corridors where we sleep. Most of the scientists are on the sea deck, which is the middle of the ship. And Lisa's taking you through. That's an orange fire door there. The red door is like an orange one. Where's she going here? This is, it's the cleaning area. So there's normal stuff of washing up and vacuuming your room and stuff like that. And then we have these red fire doors that shut automatically if there's any problems. And she's going to show you a cabin, which I think is going to be her cabin. So hopefully it's tidy. It's very small. Here she is going in, and there's one of my beautiful illustrations there, and then a photograph of all of the participants. So we have photographs of the crew and the participants, so we can learn everyone's name, because we're going to be together for months. And then you decorate your cabin how you want. They've got some nice banners up in her cabin, and you have the window there, so you can look out and see the penguins. It's about 4.5 square meters for the 2 of you, so it's really quite small, and you have a bathroom to share. And there you've got all of the supplies. You get Yorkshire tea, you can see there, and and then there's two beds. You've got a bunk bed, and you got to decide with your roommate which you do. You flip a coin or something like that. So the rooms are actually really quite comfortable.
They look very cosy, shall we say?
Yeah. It's definitely compact and bijou. Yes, definitely.
So and what's the daily rate?
Our daily rate, well, the ship costs about 100,000 euros a day to run for 24-hour period. So there's 100 people on the ship, so it's about 1,000 euros a day. You can come through, it's okay. So it's about 1,000 euros a day per person, I guess. So 50 crew and 50 scientists on board. So and very international. A South African just walked behind me. I'm from England or Ireland, so we are 15 nations on board at the moment. Most people speak German, but you don't have to speak German. It's working language is English now, and this is a very old ship now, 42 years old, and the plan is that with the new ship, which will come online in 5 years or so, that the working language will also be English, because ocean science is so expensive. It's usually the case that someone will bring a piece of equipment and someone will bring the ship time or something like that. So Where is Lisa now?
Yeah.
She's in the movie room. So this is our seminar room. This is where we have our meetings, and also you can plug in your laptop to watch movies. One time we watched Game of Thrones in here when that was on, or football tournaments and things like that, if we manage to be in a place where we can pick it up. And so every day we have a science briefing so we can tell what's going on. And we have a chief scientist who makes the final decision on things. And sometimes we pitch for our ideas. Oh, no, we don't want to go this way. We want to go that way. And we discuss on what we do. And we give presentations when we're doing in the downtime, like what each of us is doing, what the science is that we're doing. Oh, this is the doctor's cabin. This is this is the doctor in his consulting room. And then there's also a surgery we have on board. So,
Lisa, can we have a conversation with the doctor? Go on, Lisa, say hello.
Lisa, can you say something? I can't hear you, Lisa. I think she's turning the microphone on.
Right.
Still nothing, Lisa.
No.
Ah.
Yes, give us a wave. While we wait, also, so, I mean, one of the interesting things, I'm hoping that someone here will say, wow, that's a career to have. You don't have to even to be a scientist. You've got a doctor there, you've presumably got ship's crew.
Yeah, that's working again. The microphone working?
Not got any sound.
Yes.
But they get to see the doctor's office.
We can hear you now, Lisa. We can hear you now.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, and this is surgery.
Is that busy?
Not often. We do get some injuries with ropes and things like that, but we're not often. It's not often busy, but it is used. That's for sure. So, yeah.
Well, I was wondering, did you show us near the beginning the bit of equipment that you brought along? You do deep water camera work. Let's see that.
Yeah, so we have a towed camera. Yeah, Lisa, is it possible to go for OFOBs? I can't know if she's going to be going down there if she gets to it. But like you said about the multiple careers on board, yeah, there's doctors, there's a number of stewards. There is people that do washing. We have because we have so many work clothes. We actually have a laundrette on board as well. This is the central staircase, and Lisa's going downstairs, I guess, maybe to see the OFOBs equipment. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's cutting out for a minute in the staircase. It's such a metal ship that the Wi-Fi is a bit patchy. But where is she now? Going down.
While we wait for that, then. So the last time I spoke to you, it was actually for my radio program, but you were down on this ship at the south, I think, at the time again, and
exactly
you were filming these weird fish. So tell the audience, maybe bring up some pictures of these weird fish.
Yeah, maybe you can see this now. So
okay,
these are
I guess I dropped out a little bit. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Can we hear you now? Yeah, we can hear you now, Lisa. Yeah, where are you now?
Okay, so I'm in the D deck.
Can't see you anymore, actually.
Showing the labs.
Can anyone see Lisa? Can't
We
actually
can't,
see you, Lisa.
but Lisa, keep talking. Describe it.
How's that?
Oh, yeah. Okay, this is the labs. Okay, this is... So, as you said, I found some fish on my last expedition, which we'd never found before, these ice fish that we'll talk about in a minute. And Lisa is on here now, investigating them scientifically. So she's looking at the physiology of these ice fish in that laboratory. And
can you ask her to go back? Oh, is this his... So, because you said,
here.
Do you have fish tanks there or something?
The fish tanks, we have got fish tanks, but the fish tanks are now, they're unfortunately very far down in the ship. We checked it, we can't get the internet down there. So we collected the fish, and now Lisa's investigating what makes them special. They're basically fish that can live in 0 degrees water, and they've got a strange way of oxygenating themselves, and Lisa's been investigating that. All the room she's in now is all of the equipment from... Lisa, pan it a bit slower, maybe. This is all the equipment from the moorings. So this is devices we leave down for 3 years at a time. And this measures how the current is changing and temperature is changing in this warming ocean. So every single thing you're seeing there is about 50,000 euros each of the canisters. And it's a joint project between Norway, France, the UK, and Germany in putting these devices in the water. And then these ones that she's showing now. So those ones there are temperature sensors, and we string them on cables lowered to the seafloor, and we measure over time how the temperature and things are changing.
How far is it to the seabed where you are, Autun?
That's a great question. So right now we're at about 3,300 meters depth.
3 kilometers.
3,300.
Yeah.
So we're in quite deep bit of Antarctica. So the shelf in Antarctica where the fish were living is about 500 meters. And oh, she's gone on the back deck. Fantastic. So here we have people on the back deck in their safety equipment, thankfully. and she's going to, I think, try to show you our device. This is where we lower all of our equipment, and then we store all our equipment in these big containers, just like shipping containers. And there's something in the water there. So Lisa's going to go around the back and show us the OFOBs. This is the recycling. Nothing gets thrown overboard anymore. Everything is kept. Every bottle, every bit of plastic, every bit of paper. And here it is. The OFOBs. This is the towed camera sled that I use for my work, and it's got nets on the side because we've been collecting fish. And you connect that hook there to the ship, and we lower this below the ship, and it's so it connects there onto a big cable like the one the mummy chair was on, and I can see live the seafloor, and I film the seafloor with this device. And on the front there we mount a fancy camera, like you said. There's a film crew on there. They're using a fancy camera at the front. And then the other cameras that Lisa's showing you now are filming the seafloor below. And that big thing, the 23 on it, is a water sampling device. So we can collect water on demand. So say, for example, we go over a black smoker volcano or something interesting, we can trigger a collection of the water, and then the scientists can work with that water. And at the back, we have a bathymetry system for doing high resolution mapping. So it's a really fancy towed camera. So I think it costs like 3 million euros now, all the parts that we've put in there. And that's good for 6,000 meters. So we can put that anywhere except in the deep ocean trenches. Right. And it's very, very robust, and it's great because we can see the data live. And we record it onto hard drives on the computer, just like you would do with anything. And the ship will smash up the ice, and then we put it on the cable and we lower it down in the holes in the ice, basically.
Now I've got another question. I've just got another question for you here. Go on.
How long have you been there?
We've been on this ship now since just before Christmas. We got on the ship, so we started I think December the 20th or something like that, 21st, and we're still on it, and we're on it until the middle of March. So it's almost 11-week cruise. It's a really long cruise. And that's a CTD that she's showing you now. I think maybe it's frozen, but you see all those bottles there? Those are all water samplers. They collect water from different depths. Yeah.
Do you want to?
And this is the.
I was going to say, do you want to show us some of the videos you've got of these fish?
Yes, right. I'm going to show you the fish now. Good. I'll show you the fish. So this is how it looked when we first arrived here last time. This is the discovery of these ice fish. I'm going to make it full screen and play it. So those dots, the red dots you can see, are 50 centimeters apart, and that shows you that the fish are about 50 centimeters long, and their nests are about 60 centimeters.
Sorry, you just said their nests, like that's ordinary.
Yeah. Like it's ordinary. We didn't know. Well, we didn't know that such fish made nests, but we'd only ever seen 1 or 2 nests before. And as you can see now from this video, there's many hundreds. And we think we found and mapped 40 million of these nests or something like that. So we found over 240 square kilometers of nests. And you see the little blue bits underneath the fish. Those are the little eggs, and we got one of my students to count the eggs, and it turns out that there's about 1,500 to 1,700 eggs in each of those nests, and they seem to be guarded by the fish. Apparently the experts tell us it's the male that's doing the child rearing, and the lady, she lays the eggs, so the male fertilizes them, and then she goes off, and he stays and guards the eggs, and he never leaves the nests. We know that because we put down, when we found them, a camera, and we put that camera to photograph one of these nests 4 times a day, and we collected that camera on this cruise. A few weeks ago we collected the camera, and we know that it worked for 15 months, and we could see that this fish never left the nest. And in the end, unfortunately, he died. It seems to be that they often die when the eggs hatch. We don't know if it's always or often. We put another camera down, several cameras actually, so we can maybe find that out next time we come back, 3 years or time or so.
Did you see any of the fish hatching? Any of the eggs hatching?
It's a really great question, and that's exactly what I'm looking at now. So I'll show you a quick picture of, if I scroll down to where it is, where is it? Going to show you, you are going to be the first people to see this photograph. Where is it?
Wow.
Here. You guys are the first people to see this. So no photographs, guys. There is that you can see that's the nest we photographed. We photographed this, like I said, 4 times a day. And after about 3 or 4 months, we did see that eggs changed colour, and we can see some tiny, tiny little fish around the nest. And we presume that they probably are the juvenile fish. And we're just looking at those photographs now. I've looked at the first 400, and I've got another 1,200 to look at.
Wow.
In this photograph, also, you can see maybe on the fish, there's something on its nose. You can see as I zoom in a bit, these white things on its nose. Those are disgusting parasites that live on these fish and suck the blood from these fish while they're still alive. So it's a pretty miserable time to be an ice fish. And the nest next to it, the white nest, those are the bones and remains of ice fish that had died. So it seems to be that the nesting process takes quite a long time, and during that time the fish die, and they get drifting along the seafloor until they fall into these nests. These nests are maybe 20 centimeters deep, and the fish is almost neutrally buoyant, so it just rolls along and falls into one of these nests. Yeah.
And when they hatch, do they stay there? Is there stuff that is there sort of detritus that they can eat, or do they get washed away by the currents?
It's an excellent question, and you can see in this particular photograph that the current's quite strong. The particles in the water are blurred, and it seems to be that the small fish, are capable of staying in those conditions. It seems to be that they stay right on the surface within maybe a metre of the nest for a few days at least, and then they disappear. And what we think is happening is that they're coming to the surface. Now, when Lisa was walking around outside, she showed you all this nice green ice. Maybe you saw it. And these are algae that grow on the bottom of the ice. And we know from the work that we've done then and now that a lot of small animals are living on this algae. And we think that the small fish are coming to the surface to eat the small animals eating that algae. And we know that because the Americans have captured lots of the small juveniles of these fish in the Ross Sea, so on the other side of Antarctica, and they caught them just under the ice. So it seems to be that's what happened. And then from historical trawling records, we know that the fish get bigger and bigger the deeper and deeper you trawl. So between 0 depth, just under the ice, and 500 meters, they get bigger. So as they get bigger and approach sexual maturity, they seem to come down, and yeah, that seems to be what's happened with them. But again, it's early days for this animal. We don't know too good.
I'm amazed by these. Come on, someone's got to have some good questions about why on earth fish even do this. Yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. Why don't the nests collapse with this high current water running over the top of them? They seem really stable.
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's in the Fishner Trough, which is an area where there's warm upwelling water coming in. So most of the current that we're seeing is like water upwelling onto there. And I think the fish actually like the high current because it keeps away detritus. It seems to be that they only like to actively use a nest that's clean of detritus, and some sort of regular current flow will keep that going. Also, the current flow will help you keep your eggs oxygenated. So they're laying their eggs on the seafloor, and you know if you leave something in the fridge, it'll rot, even if it's in the cold. If it's just lying on the shelf, it'll start to rot from the bottom. So we think that the flow through of the water helps to oxygenate the eggs. And then, as you can see in this picture again, there's these blue eggs, and then there's a sort of dark material underneath it. Now that's little bits of stone which is dropped by the ice that comes off the shelves here. We're not far from the continental shelf, so they get big icebergs coming off, and as they melt, they drop these stones, and it's just as part of the mud that falls to the seafloor. And as the fish spins and turns, he makes this nice nest, or she makes the nest, we're not sure which makes the nest, and flops out all of the dusty material. These heavier bits sink to the bottom, and these heavier bits are more stable, so that gives it a nice rounded shape. And also these heavier bits allow water to flow through. That's what I think is happening.
Anyone else? Yeah, we're getting lots of questions here. Are there any online?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I don't know if, I just want to know, can you remind us the name of the fish and how long do they live for, please?
Yeah, that's a great question. This Jonah's icefish is the common name for it, or it's Neopachycopsis iona is the fancy name. But it's called Jonah's icefish because the first scientific sample was actually found in the stomach of a whale in the 1940s. So that's why they called it Jonah. And yeah, it's like where is it? I've got a picture of it somewhere here. Maybe not. It's like so it's an icefish. It lives about 34 years, we think. So it's quite a punk-looking fish. It's got these spikes at the back. Looks a little bit like a sturgeon, maybe. And yeah, it's an ice fish. It has no hemoglobin in the blood. We'll wait for Lisa to answer about those sort of questions. She knows more about that sort of stuff. Yeah, but we hear that they live about 34 years, maybe. That's what we were told yesterday by someone. But we think that maybe a lot die in the childbirth period, but maybe it's not obligatory to die. Lisa's back now if you want to ask any more scientific questions as well. So.
How do the eggs not get caught up in the current?
That's a good question, and it's because the nests are about 20 centimeters deep. I'm going to show you a 3D model I made of the nests now. So here's a model I made. What I did here was, let me show you. I put all the photographs I took from vertical into a computer and made a 3D model from those photographs. And as you can see, the fish is in a depression, and this depression is about 20 centimeters. So most of the current goes across the top, and the eggs are in the bottom of this nest. And I think that hydrodynamically they're protected by being there. And that's a good protection for them, I think. So I think that's why they don't get wafted away, the eggs.
Does that make sense to you? Yeah. But who dug the hole? Is it
we think it's the fish. That's a great question. So unfortunately, we didn't see on our camera anyone making the nest. So we didn't see anyone spinning around and making one. But we're presuming that they just rotate and waft it out with their tail and their flippers or fins. What do you call it, flippers? And they sort of waft all the very fine material away because most of the mud here is very fine and very easily to be suspended. And then just all the heavier stuff sinks to the bottom. But we haven't filmed this yet, so perhaps we're wrong. Lisa's is of the opinion that potentially they collect the stones and bring them to the nests. Like that happens with some shallower fish that make nests, but we disagree on this point. But we haven't got any evidence yet to back one of us up. Yeah.
Are these the fish that take you down to the Southern Ocean?
Well, that's a good question. So we come here to rotate those moorings, and as cameras have developed in the last 20 years, people have been interested in photographing the biology on the seafloor and how that changes over time. So I actually came initially as just part of the team to investigate the seafloor in general in the area, but then when we find an image like this one I'm showing you here, that's why we applied for now a special bit of secondary user time, it's called. The ship is coming here, and we applied for 7 days of ship time, me and Lisa and a couple of other people, to work on these ice fish particularly. So,
But for me, it is only because of these ice fish.
Yeah, you're only for the ice fish.
I'm interested in everything, but the ice fish are of particular interest to me because they're the only vertebrates, they're the only backboned animals that we know of that don't have the protein hemoglobin in them. And hemoglobin is
blood cells.
Exactly, and it's what makes our blood red. So if you look at the blood of an ice fish, it's almost transparent, it's whitish transparent. And some of them, their hearts and their livers are all just creamy white coloured. And so I want to understand how they can manage without this really, really important protein in their bodies.
Does that mean you've had some up on the boat?
We have, yes. And I think when I showed you the OFOS machine down on the deck, you could see there were some nets on the side. And so we particularly picked up some of these ice fish so that we could do some studies on them to understand how they bring oxygen around their body to all their cells without hemoglobin, because that's the only way we do it. That's the only way your dogs and cats and hedgehogs and mice and birds and anything with a backbone manages their oxygen. But the ice fish are very different.
I mean, I didn't see them do... Autun, you had some lovely photos there, some lovely camera work. I didn't see them doing very much. Is this partly how they survive, that life is slow for them?
That's a great question. We actually had them. We fought that, didn't we, Lisa?
Yeah, so lots of people have written in published papers that they're actually quite sedentary and they sit on the bottom of the seafloor and they don't get up to much. But actually, with our nice cameras this time, we were able to see them as really active predators in the water column, and they were hunting squid. Squid are pretty fast, and so they were managing to hunt and capture these squid. So they're pretty busy, they're pretty active.
I hope the BBC crew with you have got some of that, because they'll put it to really good music and as the squid tries to get away. Who's looking forward?
It's amazing. I think Lisa's. I think maybe what people have seen is the fish when they're on the ice nesting, and then they're guarding the nests. But before they are nesting, they're much more active. They're trying to get as much food as possible before they sit there. That's what we're thinking, right, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, we saw both, and so I think it's fair to say that when they're hungry, they're up in the water column eating squid. And other times they hang out at the bottom for some reason.
I'm sort of surprised there's so much going on. I mean, this is incredibly cold water. It's deep, dark half the year. Is that right?
Yes, it's deep. It's 400. This particular place is 450 meters, and so it's deep. But there's a lot of life there, right, Lisa? So we saw a lot of different animals.
It's breathtaking. It looks like the most beautiful garden that you've ever been to in places. There's sponges, there are starfish. This particular nesting area is cleaned up by the fish, but there are other areas that have ridges with all sorts of things growing on them, crawling on them.
Yeah, a bit like this
stunning.
one.
It's stunning.
I mean, here you can see that the whole seafloor is covered by filter-feeding animals, these corals, these sponges. The whole seafloor is covered, even though it's dark, even though it's definitely permanent, almost permanently ice covered, the Weddell Sea, 3-4 meters of ice, but still life finds a way. Here's another place with these beautiful filter feeders here, right? These starfish and these crinoids, these mobile crinoids you can see on this sponge. These are all photographs we took on this cruise from the neighbouring area. Sponges like this, filter feeding very slowly over a long time, have occupied the area completely in many, many different forms.
They live for thousands of years, so that's the other thing that I'm interested in. So I'm interested in aging and how things can live for very long periods of time. And sponges can live for tens of thousands of years. So, there's a lot to understand and learn from what's on the seafloor.
Still open for questions here.
How big are the squid?
The squid are about a laptop size. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They're bright orange. So once we saw this orangey brown colour, they're really spectacular, actually.
We went to an area about 250 meters deep, quite near the shelf, where we saw a different sort of ice fish than the one we were looking at mostly. And there was 6 or 7 squid in every photograph we took, yeah. Right? They were really zooming around everywhere. And there we saw a particularly tasty fish, apparently. What's it called?
The toothfish.
The toothfish, the Antarctic.
Chilean sea bass.
Chilean sea bass, or the toothfish, Antarctic toothfish, was liking to eat these squids. So we saw that going on. And that's all happening below the ice. It just looks exactly like out this window here. You wouldn't know that the drama is going on just below.
And talking of that, I mean, how important is the ice in terms of their life cycle? And, if the ice is retreating, and I think the Weddell Sea is one of the areas people are worried about, what does that do to the ecosystem there?
Who wants to answer that? Should I go first and you go, on? Well, I think you missed it when you were coming upstairs. We mentioned the fact that juvenile fish like to live on the zooplankton that lives on the sea ice algae. Now, if the ice goes, it's my opinion that maybe something else will take over that niche in the ecosystem. So maybe the juvenile ice fish won't be able to compete so well. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, so I think in any environment that's been, used to having this cover of ice, there's going to be adaptation to that ice, and animals will be using it. and will be depending upon it being there. I think the Weddell Sea is actually relatively well protected up until now. So what we're seeing is what's been going on for a very, very long period of time.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear to be changing just yet, but might be on the brink of that change. So we're very privileged actually to be able to see this kind of life, and more and more people are beginning to understand that there is life that actually lives specifically on the underside of that ice as well. So those whole populations, are totally dependent on that ice.
Yeah, I think that's right. And the mooring equipment that Lisa showed you, the real aim of those guys is to see whether warmer water is indeed melting the east side of the Weddell Sea, which has been one of the concerns that people have raised from modelling studies into the future, right, Lisa? So that's really one of the main targets of the work they're doing. I just leave it on this particular photo here. Does anyone know what we're looking at in this particular photo?
Any hands? Oh, I think we've got. Let's see. It is a spectacular picture.
Yeah. Any ideas?
Is it eating? Is the fish eating it or?
The fish is not eating it, not exactly, in my opinion.
Oh.
What do you think it is? What do you think it is, that thing? The lollipop tree
It's a
thing.
nice lampshade.
It's a lampshade or something.
No ideas? Any more ideas here? It looks like a toy.
It looks like a toy. It's bizarre, doesn't it? That's a carnivorous sponge. So those things that you're seeing are like lollipops that have been partly sucked and are still sticky. And things stick to them, and then they get dissolved by the sponge. And what I think is happening here is that fish is waiting for something to get stuck on the sponge. Then the fish is going to eat whatever's stuck on the sponge. I think that's what we're looking at there. So it's one of the few carnivorous sponges we saw on this trip. But as you can see there in that picture also, the seafloor is quite green. So even though we're under 3 meters of ice, we're at a time when the Weddell Sea is approaching its summer, and we are having some melt of the ice, and we are seeing some algae fall into the seafloor. So there is a rain of algae. We can actually see it there. And you can also see some trails underneath the fish where animals have crawled around behind the fish. Yeah.
Autun, the first time I spoke to you, you were in the Pacific, I think, looking at the Pacific sea floor. How different are these sort of things for someone just as a spectator sport?
Well, it's interesting. The thing in the middle of this screen there is a pink sea cucumber. You get those everywhere. In the middle of the Pacific, there's always someone that will crawl around and eat things that are on the seafloor, cleaning up the mud. There's always big anemones. This is a sea anemone that's on its side. This sea anemone rolls around in the currents and then he feeds. And these big anemones are also in the Pacific, very similar species. So some things are everywhere that I go. So certain niches are filled by very similar animals. But then you get some strange changes and differences. Like, for example, here, there are no crabs in the Antarctic waters. There's no crabs further south than the 60 degrees. So only on the west coast of the peninsula you get these special volcano crabs. So that's quite interesting. So you get some differences and you get some similarities. Like sea anemones here in this picture are everywhere. And corals are in most places too. And the top one there, the small starfish, they are very much everywhere. These guys too, these octocorals, these are soft corals. They're also pretty much in every ocean that you from the North Pole to the South Pole, you get these guys. So some things are really great and really go everywhere, and some things are very specific. These ice fish are very specific. Yeah. These ice fish are only in Antarctica. So this ability to use this version for the blood is only here, right, Lisa? There's nowhere else like this. Yeah.
That was my.
How do they survive?
Yeah, so there are lots of ideas about how they might manage without hemoglobin. So some of these include they don't have, unlike many fish, they don't actually have scales on the outside of their body. And so there's a thought that they might actually diffuse oxygen in from the water. And because the water is very cold in Antarctica, it actually dissolves a higher amount of oxygen than it would if it was warmer. So those are two things. They have very hard. Sorry?
It's like they're breathing through their skin.
Maybe. I mean, frogs do that. Amphibians do some degree. I'm not sure about this, and nobody's actually proved that this is happening. They have very large hearts and a very large blood volume, and their vascular system is also much more complex. So, for example, the back of the eye has many, many more blood vessels and capillaries than a red-blooded fish. And so they have the possibility to move more blood, more of their white blood around that contains oxygen. But some of the physics that we know that goes along with how hemoglobin carries oxygen to the very, very deep tissues and to the ends of our fingers and back, that puzzle hasn't actually been solved yet. So how oxygen is taken to the very furthest parts of the body, that hasn't been solved yet. But they do grow normally. They grow at a normal rate. They grow to a big size, and as we discussed before, they're pretty active. So they're definitely getting oxygen somehow. But that's my puzzle to sort out.
Sort of mainstream biologist, your question, it's these extremes that really interest you, that you need to go and see these things to get, you can test your theories.
Absolutely, because it's the extremes that show us how plastic nature is, that nature will find a way somehow or another, and how it finds a way can instruct us in how we can overcome, for example, disease and things like that, because if we can find a way around a problem then that already exists in nature, then the possibility of that being acceptable within a natural body is much higher.
It keeps on showing us amazing fish. So this is a very ugly dark fish. Oh,
And a feather star crinoid swimming. But the dark fish is apparently the tasty one, right?
Yeah, so that's a toothfish, and in North America, they're sold as Chilean sea bass. Very, very expensive fish to buy and eat. They're ugly though.
So this video was on the ship's server. We were filming it. We put this video to everyone who wants to watch it on the ship, and we were getting calls from the engine room. Get it! I wanted to eat it. So it's like apparently it's a super tasty fish. So
but we didn't get it.
He came towards the nest and then he went the other way.
What's interesting about this fish is that it's actually related to the ice fish. It's very it's from the same family of fish, but it has red blood. So we can compare the ice fish to very closely related red-blooded fish to see what's particularly different about them.
And the thing in the foreground is a crinoid, a free-swimming crinoid, which is one of the oldest designs of life. And unlike what we're talking about, the ice fish, this one is a very successfully designed animal. It hasn't changed since the first Paleolithic records. So this is hundreds of millions of years the same. And it's a very graceful swimmer. It's like, I don't know what it looks like. It's 10 arms going like that. Yeah.
Deliberately, I mean, was it just a photobombing, the toothfish?
Yeah, they really like it. You often get a fish or a crinoid that's particularly keen to be on TV or not be on TV, like this octopus. This particular one, these particular purple ones are always hiding, unlike some of these show-off ones like this one. This is much more like the one that we filmed and talked about on the radio that time. So this is an interesting one because it's hard to see from the picture, but it seems like he's actually eating someone else's eggs. There's some eggs stuck on the stone at the bottom of the picture there. And I would say that he's probably eating them rather than guarding them because they're quite a lot smaller than the eggs that are usual for an octopus of that size. And we also saw that in our time series cameras, that octopuses would come and eat the remains of eggs. So that's a pretty beautiful photograph there. Yeah.
The crinoids are
Oh, sorry.
We've got a question from online here. So this actually, I think, refers to either the toothfish or your nesting fish, the ice fish. Are these similar to blind cave fish found in the caves of the US?
The eyes work because they're usually 5 or 6 years old by the time they reach their maturity and they're down at the seafloor. But they have got active eyes, and we can see that they are using the lights of our device to maybe catch the zooplankton that's swimming around, the small animals that are swimming around. So I don't think that they are losing their eyes.
No, they've got beautiful, huge, beautiful eyes, and we actually know from previous studies and from our own work as well that the retina is really highly sensitive. It's got all the photoreceptors. Antarctica, so they see pretty well, actually.
And also, a lot of them are living at 250 or 150 meters depth, where we've still got light penetration. So a lot of their time, some of the species at least, is in very low lit areas where eye sensitivity would help them, I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean, but they have pigments that suggest that they see in bright light as well. So their eyes are pretty nicely developed.
Now, we've got about 10 minutes. I don't know, Rod, where's Rod? Left. And I'm sure there's some more questions here. I'm sure people would like also to see that ice again one more time. See if there are any more fish, penguins out there. Let's do that. I saw, okay, got... We need people who are going to ask questions to come to the front. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to take the camera out. Okay, she's going to take the camera out. So try and can you see Lisa Cam? Is it going?
Yeah.
There's penguins there. Oh yeah. Can you see the penguins on the Lisa Cam? That's about 10 emperor penguins outside, and yeah, there's a big fat seal out the back, but I think he's too far to see. So.
It's an amazing boat. Please, go ahead, ask your question.
No, I know you've been talking about animals, but I'm just curious about, because it's a remote location, about if there's any evidence of like plastic pollution or human activity and the seafloor there.
That's a fantastic question. I haven't seen any. I've been here a number of times, and it's the only place on Earth where I haven't found any large plastic is down here. There is no tour ships or anything that can get where we are now, at this far south in the Weddell Sea. As we go to South Georgia, at the end of this cruise, I'm going to put the cameras down near South Georgia, where a lot more tourist boats are coming to look at penguin colonies. And so maybe I'll see something there. But I found on my last expedition last year a carrier bag less than 1 kilometre from the North Pole. So, I mean, it's really everywhere now, plastic, even large plastic. But so far in the Antarctic, it's only small microplastics, I would say. I've never seen anything except wooden parts, which might be the remains of whaling ships or just normal wood that's come in. I've not seen any real litter down here, which is quite nice.
Any other questions? Yes, we've got two over here.
On the topic of penguins, on emperor penguins, I read in the book recently that they were suffering a bit due to climate change. So I don't know what your thoughts are, being like right now.
Yeah, so we have got colonies in this area, and this area luckily hasn't really lost the ice yet, and we have any of these mass mortalities with the egg problems that some of them have had. So we have a big penguin colony near where we delivered the food to the German research station, and that was fine this year. It was very active. So here, at this particular point in the Antarctic, we're lucky. But when you look at these maps of the ice changing, it's much more changing in other places. The west of the Antarctic Peninsula, which is an area where the English and the Americans do a lot of their work. And in our sector, where the Germans and the Norwegians are doing most of our work, it's not been such a major factor yet. But yeah, we are concerned about it. And we would, if they're still breeding on the sea ice, some of these penguins. And if the sea ice becomes thin and untenable, then they will have trouble with, I don't know how they will adapt to it. Yeah.
The perimeter of Antarctica must be vast. You might even have the number of how many kilometres it is. Given the surprises you keep on finding, do we really appreciate everything that could be going on the other different parts of it?
Absolutely not. I mean, we have good satellites now, but the weather here, like today, is 100% cloud cover. So we don't know a lot about what happens a lot of the time here. And there's very few webcams away from bases. And I'm sure we don't know a lot of things that are going on. And a lot of the areas of the ocean have not been explored with equipment like mine. We've had occasional cameras going down, but there's huge swathes which haven't been explored to the level we've explored the Weddell Sea. And we've been coming here for 15 years before we found the ice fish, and even to the area where we found the ice fish, it took a long time till we found it. You getting in or out? Yeah, so I think there's really a lot of holes in our knowledge about what's going on here, definitely. I mean, I'm a big favor of using cheap time-lapse equipment. So the photographs I showed you of the time-lapse cameras were all made with Raspberry Pi equipment. So the camera cost €200. The most expensive part of the device was the plug, the special waterproof plug that goes into it. So, I mean, I'm really in favor of putting cheap equipment out there to do long-term studies. next year we're down here. We're going to start a 10 location study where we're going to measure the same things every year, including top predators and penguins and things like that. And we're going to do that in 10 locations every couple of years from now on, and that'll be good. And in a couple of years' time, we've got this thing called Antarctica in Sync, where all of the ships in the world are going to try and work at the same time in Antarctica. So all around, we'll try and do the same thing at the same time. Like everyone will do CTDs at the same time. Everyone will do cameras at the seafloor at the same time to try and get a handle on how things are changing differently around the place. And that'll be a real team effort from all of the ships. The David Attenborough, I'm sure, will be involved. The David Attenborough at the moment is that way. It's about 800 miles from us, or less, actually. It's near South Georgia. Does the weather person want to speak? Do you want to say hello? Do you want to talk to the weather forecasting lady? She's also quite important.
Garza, definitely. Hello.
Yeah, I'll bring my camera. I'll bring it to you.
What's the weather? I don't know if you can hear us.
Yeah, can you hear?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Where was I putting? I put there you are. Yeah. This is Julie. She's the most important person. So. Oh my God! Look at all that stuff. Look at all that data.
I created a lot of bad weather conditions.
You created a lot of bad weather conditions. We try and bribe Julia in for helicopter flights and everything like that to make it nice for us. Yeah. But you're often on the ship, right?
Yes, like 2 or 3 times per year, and yeah. So it's important to have somebody here to one for, I don't know, for the helicopters mainly, and also for the ship, that we find the best track and avoid the storms and the big waves.
It looks quite gloomy out there at the moment. Is that some weather system?
Yeah, there's one low pressure system exactly above us right now.
You've said the magic words. She loves talking about low pressure systems. When she starts talking about low pressure systems, everyone gets worked up. She loves showing in the meetings every day these low pressure systems. And is that the map of the weather now?
Yes. That's where we are. This one.
Yeah. Yeah, we're there.
And this, I mean, it's not a beautiful low, but it has a lot of clouds, and there's some snow outside, but not much wind. So we are lucky because we're just in the center, so it's not windy.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, Autun, you have to be completely self-sufficient, don't you? Because you're down there for, I think you did say 3-4 months or something.
Yeah. So we're 3 or 4 months down here. We bring all our food with us, and yeah, which camera's my gun?
Yeah, you're on the right one.
And then we bring all of our food with us, everything like that. So we have enough food that if we get stuck here, we can survive until the next summer. So we can stay here for 9 months if we have to. So it's really
you wouldn't mind, would you, Autun? You wouldn't mind, would you?
I'm on this thing 6 months a year anyway, because I'm one of the few people that works Antarctic and the Arctic. So most people do one or the other, but because we've only got this expensive camera sled, we use it in both locations. So I go between the 2 places, and Lisa comes when there's a new organism that needs investigation for the first time. And Lisa is one of the many specialists that can come. So I mentioned it briefly, the secondary user proposals. Anyone can apply for time. The ship has a list of all the expeditions it's going on and the amount of people that are assigned. And it's usually 35, leaving 15 places for secondary users. And anyone can apply for that. They make a pitch, and it's judged by an external committee, not by my institute that runs the ship, by an external committee. They think, oh, that science is good. This should be backed up. And you get people doing local dynamics of ice flows on a scale of a little mouse, and then you get huge things, or us with the ice project. So anyone can apply, and it's internationally open, so it's something you can do. And Germany will fit the bill for the cost. So the €100,000 a day, you do not have to bring it. Germany will pay it.
So yeah, for that. So we've got another question here. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. A quick question. Some amazing photographs. I absolutely love watching them. Do you make them available publicly? Can we see them on a website or something?
Yes, that's a great question. So the device that I showed you, the OFOBs, that's been built and paid for with the provision that all of it goes onto a publicly accessible database within 6 months. So what we can do is we can put a moratorium on it for up to 2 years, but then it becomes automatically available to everybody. And my technique usually is just to make it available and made straight away. So that's really a good question. And it's part of this data accessibility thing that we're really backing up with our group and our institute in general, that we try and make everything as public as soon as possible. But that's a really great question. And it costs so much money, and the taxpayers have paid for these images and videos that they should be public. And beforehand, we give it out. If people want it, they can email us and they can ask. And already some things from this cruise we've sent out to appropriate experts. You just can't learn everything, especially when you're doing seafloor biology. I only really know about corals. I know nothing about fish. Lisa knows much more about fish. So you always have to bring other people in. So it's a nice collaborative working field, I think.
I'd also say the Polar Stern has a blog, I think, which I've been to, which has got some amazing pictures. And is it the Alfred Wegener Institute?
Yeah, the Alfred
Wegener
Institute. Yeah, exactly. And you can follow the blog. You can follow the blog, and every couple of days, the chief scientist puts on there what's going on. And it's been really popular for drawing people into it. And we've got much better at doing publicity in Germany in the last few years. We've been quite bad in the past. I mean, like having this connectivity now, we could send 156K email every 15 minutes as a scientist in the past. Now we've got this, what we're doing now. So it's fantastic change. So for outreach.
Well, you've both been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I hope they're cooking something nice in that refectory you got downstairs for you.
It's probably so heavy.
Or maybe some schnitzel. Lisa, come back. I want everyone to give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely fabulous.
We enjoyed it. I think we enjoyed it.